I'm on Starla, and I wanted to talk about what I call targeted training. When I get on a horse, I've talked about the 50%, 70%, and 90% days, but I also do what I call targeted training. This is Starla. She's very distracted looking around, so I'm going to be walking her around talking about how I get her refocused on me. But I've also had quite a few people ask about kind of my past and how I got into training horses and what other trainers have influenced me. So I'm going to talk about that at the same time too. Right there, she's looking to the right. We're going to steer left. So the way I got into horses, pretty different than how most people get into horses. I grew up in an area of Biloxi, Mississippi we call the Point, which is basically a peninsula surrounded by water. And pretty much everything that went on there was around the fishing industry. And so we were in town, never saw a horse in person, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 years old. First time I ever rode a horse, I think I was probably 14, maybe 15, probably 14. First time I ever rode a horse. And I was dating my wife now, and she grew up riding horses, and there was a trail riding place not far from us, and when we go out on dates, she wanted to go horseback riding and I wanted to go on the date, so I learned how to ride a horse to go on the date. So that's how I got started riding horses. And then a few years later we got married and started having kids, and we'd go riding once in a while, but it wasn't much. We had to, it was just a basic nose to tail trail riding place. Well, when I was in my 30s, she said she wanted to lease a horse. So there was some stables not too far from my house. But by this time we had moved further out of the country, out into the country. There was some stables not too far, and she leased a horse there. And the next day she come home and said she bought a horse. So she leased a horse one day, the next day she bought a horse. So if you follow me on Patreon and you see the picture of that white horse with my daughter jumping, that's the horse that she bought the next day. He was 4 years old, very poor, very underweight, not broke to ride. That was my first horse. So when you see me showing in a black felt hat with a white hat band, that hat band is made from the tail hair from that horse that's in that picture. So anyways, naturally, she leased one horse that is a pretty decent riding horse, and then we own one that's not broke to ride. And stupid me, I didn't know any better. I just started trying to ride the one that wasn't broke to ride and didn't know anything. I was just hanging on and was just able to hang on. I guess you could say I got the horse broke. He really didn't know anything. He just wasn't bucking me off. And if you notice while I'm talking, I'm changing directions and stuff all based on where her attention goes. I've actually been loping her a lot out, getting some forward going, which is helping her attention also. So anyways, by that time, I'm learning, I don't know that I'm learning much of anything other than how to not fall off, which I did a lot. And trying to get the horse broke to ride. And it was about that time that I found, or a friend of mine introduced me to Floyd James, which he was a local trainer, not about an hour from me. Mainly trained roping horses and started a lot of horses. So I started going there, getting him to help me with that horse. And that's when I really actually started learning how to teach a horse something. And he taught me the same basic stuff that I use nowadays. The same basic, you see me with attention, how I bend, how I make contact, that's all stuff I learned from Floyd. And I think he was in Wiggins, Mississippi at the time. Now he's in Texas. But he taught me the foundation of everything that I still use today. And I was in my 30s then. And then once I started learning how to teach Apache, that was that white horse, once I started learning how to teach him, I realized I really enjoyed training horses. And even after I got Apache going good, I just kept going up to Floyd's and teaching him teaching me how to work other horses. And from there, I was still considered a non-pro at the time. And as far as like AQHA membership and stuff, I wasn't training outside horses. He was teaching me how to train. And kept going up there, and that's when I really learned how to start horses correctly, do the basic training, because he did a lot of that. And basically he was standing outside the round pen telling me what to do. I was his crash dummy. And learned a lot. Learned a lot of the foundation, let's turn right there. Learned a lot of the foundation stuff that I still use today. And got pretty good. I got to where I was starting a lot of horses for him. And he wasn't paying me anything. I was getting paid by education. Nowadays, a lot of people, they want to come in and they want you to pay them to learn. And that's not the attitude I took. I loved what I did, and I wanted to learn. So I did that for several years. I don't remember how long, but it was several years. And at the time, not too long after that, is when I joined the Sheriff's Department and became their, I rode in their unit for a couple of years. And it wasn't too long. I knew more than most of them and started helping them out. And they sent me to Mounted Police Instructor School. Well, I didn't realize that by getting my Mounted Police Instructor certification, I was going to lose my AQHA non-pro status. Still wasn't ready to show in the open at AQHA or NRHA or any of the other shows, but I did because I didn't know any better, and I lost my non-pro status. So then at that point, I had to learn how to get a whole lot better as quick as I could, because I wanted to show National Reining Horse Association. That was my goal. I started doing that and got where I was doing pretty good, and got to the point to where people started asking me to help them. I really didn't advertise that I was teaching or doing anything. Just people started asking me to help them because I was winning and beating them, and they wanted me to show them what I was doing. And that's how I basically got started training outside horses. At the time, I was running an electrical contracting company, and really training horses wasn't even anything that I had thought of. I just enjoyed doing it. And it just kind of spiraled from there. At the time, Floyd taught me a lot. He taught me the most out of anybody else. And then I've ridden a lot with Rob Huddleston. Anybody that's pretty involved in NRHA reining probably knows Rob. And rode with Mark Wiltshire some, Robert Montgomery some. A lot of these people they're just local trainers, and there are good trainers all over the country. But you just don't hear about them because you don't know that they're there. And that's the people that I rode with, and that's the people that I learned from. And at the time, the Mississippi Reining Horse Association had a lot of really good horses there. And a lot of the world top 10 horses came through Mississippi back then at that time. So I was showing against and learning from some of the best of the best. Randy Schaffhauser was one. I never went and rode with him, but anytime we were at a show together, I was asking him questions and picking his brain. And that is, if you've heard of Sam Schaffhauser, which used to be Tim McQuay's assistant trainer, that was Sam's dad. And Randy was a really good trainer. Still is. And that was all. I primarily showed NRHA reining for a long time. I played a little bit with working cow horse. I enjoyed it, but I didn't have access to the cows at the time. And eventually I did. Eventually I was able to get access to cows, and then started going to some cow clinics. I rode with a clinic with Robert Chown, and that was probably the first cow work clinic I did. Learned a lot from him. This would have been early 2000s, 2002, 2003, maybe, something like that. He was pretty young then. He was training, or the clinic was at the Dormany Ranch in Georgia, and learned a lot from him. That was a really good clinic. And I rode with some other people in cow work. All through this time, I'm managing this electrical contracting company, raising a family. Really couldn't go off and work for anybody like most people do nowadays. Usually when you want to learn to train, you go off and work for some big trainer somewhere. I couldn't do that. I had to go ride in clinics. Probably 90% of the more upper level stuff that I learned in the warm-up pen at a show, talking to other trainers. I think that's probably the best education you can get, or maybe the second best education you can get for upper level horses. And I showed a lot, and some of those was pretty terrible, but every time I showed, I learned something, and just never gave up, and just kept on learning. I still go ride with other people, and I still, when I can, it's hard to get away now, and still try to keep learning. As far as the videos that you see, I really never intended for the videos to do what you see them doing, as far as putting out how-to or training videos or any of this. I never really intended on this. I only started doing videos so that when somebody sent me a horse to train, that they could see I was really riding the horse. That was really all I was trying to accomplish when I started doing videos. I wasn't trying to be in instructional videos or anything like that. I just wanted the owners to see I was really riding the horse and what I was doing with the horse. And since then, it's grown a lot. I have, between Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon, I have close to 200,000 followers. I really appreciate that from everybody. On Facebook and YouTube, I mainly post some just general, this is what I'm doing with this horse video, so that you can follow the horses in training. Patreon, I post more of the specific how to teach a horse to do certain things. I post those on Patreon. And then also on Patreon, I try to post things so that the Patreon subscribers can kind of feel like they're part of the barn family here, and like they're involved and see what's going on. If we're doing something with the cows, I'll post it. If something's going on with a horse that's kind of different, I'll post it. New horse comes in, I'll post to the new horse come in. Just stuff like that, so that you can kind of get the barn family experience. So I really appreciate everybody following me on Patreon, YouTube, and Facebook. And that's kind of a quick story of where I came from. It's pretty unique because I didn't ride as a child. I didn't really start riding serious till I was in my 30s. And now I'm almost 60. So I do have a good bit of saddle time. And the saddle time that I have, I was trying to learn. I wasn't just out riding and not having somebody teach me. So this is Starla. I've got a few videos of her. I'll have a playlist up here somewhere on YouTube. Until next time, thank you for watching. I want to thank everybody for supporting me on Patreon. That's where I usually post some of the more detailed training videos. There's 3 levels: $5, $25, $75. $5 level, you get access to all those detailed training videos. $25 level, you get access to all the videos, plus you get 20% discount on video lessons, and you're entered for a drawing for a giveaway that I do once a month. $75 level, you get all of that, plus you get a free video lesson a month. I'll get thousands of questions a day. There's no way I can answer them all, but I answer Patreon questions every day. Patreon, Tim Anderson Horse Training. I appreciate everybody for supporting me there.